Hello, I'm wearing red today, pretty much red. This is as red as it gets because what I want to say to you today is that important. Not because I think red looks so good on me, because I actually don't think it looks that great on me, but because it's really important. It's about big issues, about questions people ask me a lot. So today's big question is it ethical to get paid for doing nothing? So I love defining words and I love being absolutely clear that everyone understands everything that I'm saying. So hang on a second, I just got a message saying we're having difficulty with Facebook. So sorry guys, if you're out there on Facebook, not being able to view us properly. We are on YouTube and it will show up on Facebook later on. But if we are having difficulty, then I apologize in advance. But you can catch this. I promise you'll be able to see this somehow because this is an important one. So we're going to define ethics and we're going to define paid and we're going to define nothing, because these are questions I get asked a lot by people, would you believe? So I like defining words so that everyone's absolutely clear that there's no misinterpretation of, well, some people think it means this and some people think it means that. So let's look at ethics first. Ethics, in my view, is the way that you feel about what you're doing in your life and being integrity with your own beliefs, right? So, for example, it would be very ethical of me to say, I'm going to train for the London Marathon and then go out and work really, 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 really hard at training my body so that I can run the marathon. That would be totally an ethical thing to do. Completely unethical for me would be to say, I'm going to train and run the London Marathon and then wake up the next day thinking, you know what? Why on earth did I even have that idea? I can't do that. I'm not in anywhere near good shape. I would never mind how hard I work, ever possibly be able to be in shape to run the London Marathon. So why did I even have that idea? It was unrealistic, silly, pointless. I'm going to give up. Not that this, whoops, she says, poking herself in the eye. Not that this is, of course, anything that I've actually experienced much, hence the example. So when you don't do things that you want to do or that you think you should be doing, you get this feeling in the pit of your stomach that makes you feel bad about life. That's your ethics or your conscience saying, hey ho, you said you were going to do this and you're not doing this. So what's that all about? And that hurts you in the long run. So I really, really, really strongly recommend that you become as ethical as you possibly can be, which includes making sure that you do what you say you're going to do, that not only in relation to other people, but in relation to yourself, right? So ethics is a personal viewpoint. Some people will disagree with you on certain things. Some people might think that it is ethical to do this thing, or it's not ethical to do that thing. You know, some people think that it's not ethical to eat eggs because they're, you know, farmed and the chickens suffer or something. And other people think it's not ethical to eat meat because of some reason. You know, those are all very, very personal issues. And ethics doesn't have anything to do with the law. The law is the law. And the morals of a country, which are kind of based on law, are a different issue. And justice is something completely different again. But ethics is how you feel about what you think is right and what is not right. Now, in my view, the line between right and wrong is really clear for me. And I made it really clear so that when there are times when I'm like, I'm not really sure if this is the right thing or the wrong thing, I can go to my measure and say, okay, now I can decide on whether that's right or what or wrong. And my measure is How much good does it do? How many people does it help? Right? So, for example, I love old things, anything that's old jewelry, old buildings, old trees. I would always much prefer live in an old house that's been renovated than a new one. So if there were a question of this beautiful old house being somewhere and somebody was thinking of knocking it down in order to build something else, I would be able to very clearly decide on whether I think that's a good idea or not based on the fact that I love old houses, because that would be an emotional decision, but the fact that whatever it is that's going up in its place is going to serve the community or whatever it is. Okay, so that's how I operate. Does it help people? And does it help more people than the alternative idea does, the other alternative? Okay, so that's ethics. So is it ethical to get paid for doing anything? Well, yes, it is. And we all go to work, or we've all been to work at some point in our lives and had some kind of job at some point and got paid for doing it. And we've all hopefully had money in bank accounts that have paid us a little bit of interest, although that is very, very little nowadays. And we've all earned money on our money for interest. Now, what we have experienced a lot of is the reverse of that we've borrowed money and we've had to pay massively high amounts of interest. Now, it's up to you to figure out whether you believe that's ethical or not. You know, there are some people who don't like paying taxes. Is that ethical or is it not ethical? My viewpoint is taxes are totally okay, and I love to pay taxes because I benefit from the things that taxes create. Like, I benefit from the fact that the roads are made. I benefit from the fact that the schools are put in place, you know, that there are traffic lights all over the place, that I can benefit from the fire brigade and the police force and all that. That's paid for out of my taxes. So for me, paying taxes is great, but there are levels. So is it ethical to have a tax accountant who looks at exactly how much you could save? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Your choice. Getting paid means somebody gives you money or a commodity of some kind, and a benefit of some kind. What could it be? It could be cheaper rent or cheaper cost for things, or it could be giving you a discount, or it could be giving you benefits towards something you want, like say you're buying software and you can get other people to buy that software, then if you get enough people to do that, you don't have to pay for yours anymore. You're still effectively getting paid, but it's in kind. In other words, it's in another way. It's not bartering, but it's an exchange other than actual money. That's another way of doing it. It's still getting paid. And what is doing nothing? That is a really good question, because that's ultimately what it all comes down to. Because, as you know, I have lots of opportunities that I offer to people, right? And I sometimes hear people say, I don't like the idea of doing that. It doesn't seem honest. It doesn't seem right, because you're telling me that I can earn money by doing nothing. In fact, it's even worse than that. People think I'm telling them that they can earn money off the work of other people. So they don't have to do their own work. Other people will work for them and they'll be able to earn money on that. So let's make it really, really, really clear. I never, ever recommend that anybody does nothing and gets paid for it. Never. So if you think you've heard me say in the past, you don't even have to do anything and you'll still get paid, that's one interpretation of it. Let me give you an example. If I have this brilliant idea and I want to create a company, I want to create a business and maybe a product that goes with it. Say it's a a downloadable ebook, right? I don't have to pay someone to print it. It's all to do with technology. I don't really have very many costs, but I want to take some time off to write this thing out. Now, in order to be able to survive, I need some money coming in. So I ask my friends, look, guys, would you like to invest in this new business that I'm setting up, because I need some money to get it going? And I'm going to pay you this amount of interest, or I'm going to pay you these royalties when it sells, or I'm going to give you some of this for free in exchange for the fact that you're going to give me some money now so I can get it going. Would you say that those people who gave me the money did nothing? I don't think they did nothing, because they've got themselves in a position where they have money to help other people. They have not only enough for their own needs, they've got enough to help other people. And by helping other people, they are creating something of massive value. They're putting something on the planet that might not even have been able to exist if it hadn't been for them. On a spiritual level, they are also supporting, right, and lifting up something they think has a value. Not everybody can do that. I think that is doing something. And then the chances are that they might mention my idea to someone else. They might say, hey, Andrea's doing this thing. She's got this book. She's fundraising because she needs to take some time out to get it organized. We've given her a bit of money. Why don't you give her a bit of money? Which effectively means they've promoted me, which is an even bigger thing to do. It wasn't an effort. They didn't trudge the streets. They didn't print flyers and hand them out to everybody. They just mentioned it to somebody. I didn't even ask them to. They did it because they trust me. They've committed to me. They've put their money where their mouth is. And they think, hey, she can get it done faster if she gets more people to support her. Or normally when I do stuff, I talk to John and he always thinks it's a great idea. So I'll just mention this one to him too, right? Nothing unethical about that. Nothing wrong with that. And they're not doing nothing either. They are making a major contribution. Now, years and years ago, back when I was living in London, I went to have supper with a friend of mine, my very best friend. And her husband now, he wasn't then, but he is now, had a bank of computer screens because he was trading. It was a sort of sideline for him. It wasn't his main income source. He was a very successful entrepreneur, but he traded. And I have to get this story right in case they watch this at some point. But at some point during that day, he had bought something to do with Google. He'd invested in some way in Google. And as my memory serves me correctly, I hope it does, by the end of that evening, and I had been there for maybe 3 or 4 hours, could have been a bit longer, he had made $12,000, £12,000. Now, I don't know how long that lasted. I don't know if he lost it again the next day or whether he took it out and put it in his pocket. I've no idea. But it happened because the value of Google had, in that space of time during that day or those few hours, increased, right? That happens. It's a natural phenomenon. We want it to happen because we want people to be able to benefit from things, which means that if at the beginning of the day you had bought some of Google, invested in Google, given Google some of your hard-earned money, they did something, they worked at something that made the value of their offering higher, which means that by the end of the day, the value of those things that you bought, the shares or the stocks or the investment, whatever it is, was more. So arguably, you could have sold it to somebody for more money. Now, that happens the other way round as well. Now, some of you might not think that's ethical. That's totally up to you. But that makes no difference because this will never change. This is something that's been in existence for a very long time and it's never going to change. And in the old days, in fact, even at that time, which wasn't so old, but even at that time, you had to have quite a substantial amount of money in order to start, in order to be able to invest in something. And nowadays, the whole world has changed and you don't need to have very much money to invest. You do have to consider that if you're playing the stocks or buying shares or trading the exchanges or even just foreign exchange, which is a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that one day, actually. If you're doing that, there is a risk. But you're not actually getting paid for doing nothing because you are doing something. You are giving somebody money so that they can build their business, and you're receiving the benefit, which enables you to go out and do it again, or to invest in little people like me who want to write a book or whatever it was. That's a hypothetical situation. So then crowdfunding was invented so that people could give money to other people and benefit from that. And sometimes the benefit is that I'm getting another notification saying that there's issues with Facebook. And I'm sorry, I don't know why that is. But I promise you that once that's all been rectified, this video will go up into the group as well. It might run again later or tomorrow, but it will be there so that you can find it later. In the meantime, it's on YouTube. So I'm not sure why it's not showing up. But thank you for those of you who are here anyway. So crowdfunding was invented so that people, small people, could be funded by people who had some money, and small people who had a little bit of money but not a lot could benefit from being able to invest in something. So that's a two-way thing, right? There's always an exchange of some kind for something. The universe works that way. It's always a question of balance. You know, you give something, you receive something. It's a natural flow. I've been told to stop. Okay, I'm stopping. What's happening? I'm going to answer my phone. Okay. Hello.
Hey, sorry, my internet is crashing.
Oh, that means we're not going out?
Right now it says we are.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But it crashed, so I guess it's going, and then we'll do the recording and upload it later.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, so if we keep crashing, then I apologize. This recording will go back up later. So the beauty of technology, see, nothing's ever perfect. It works for ages and then suddenly one day it doesn't. But that's life. So back to exchange. There is in the natural universe, the way that the world works, even if human beings never even existed, there is an exchange, right? Everything has an exchange of some kind. It's a natural law. And when you violate natural laws, you end up in trouble. So people who steal because they want more money, that's a violation of the law. You can't do that. Doesn't work. You'll end up in trouble somewhere along the line, right? But if you are in harmony with these natural, the way the world naturally works, it will support you. Even if that means it appears that you're receiving something in exchange for nothing, you're not. You made something possible that someone else wasn't able to make possible, right? So when somebody offers you an investment opportunity, think of it as your opportunity to do something good in the world. And the world will repay you by saying thank you, which means you'll get a little dividend or something like that. Maybe a big dividend, you never know. You know, one day you make £12,000 with Google, the next day you make 10 cents. Who knows? but the exchange still happens. Now, the brilliant people are the ones that can foresee all these things happening and be exactly at the right place at the right time, which sounds like sheer luck, but it isn't. Massive amounts of hard work go into that. Massive losses go into that as well, because people don't always get it right. So when they do win, when they do suddenly appear to make £12,000 in a matter of hours or a day and a half or something, it looks as though it's unfair. It could seem as though it's not fair. But when you think of paying for the education alone that puts someone in the position where they could do that, generating the income that puts someone in the position where they could buy stocks and shares, all that is an investment of money, of time, of effort. Most of us don't want to do it. Fine. But we shouldn't think it's unethical because someone else is doing it. Okay, so moving on to the other side of it, the side where you have people who are working for you while you do nothing. Like, for example, that's often the excuse that people use as to why they don't like multi-level marketing companies, that you make money from the efforts of other people. Well, first of all, let me tell you that everybody that owns a business to some degree makes money off the backs of other people. And yet we seem to think that that's perfectly okay, right? Even if I hire a virtual assistant to help me in my business, that hiring that virtual assistant enables me to make more money. So you could say that I'm making money on the back of that person's work. Well, I am, but I'm also paying that person and giving that person something to do, which is an exchange for what they're doing for me. And underneath all that, she's serving more people because she's serving me, and I'm able to serve more people with what I'm doing. So how is that not right? Or at least that's how I think that it is right. That's how ethically it works for me. So when I have someone who's in a business which requires them or gives them the opportunity of sharing it with other people, they don't do nothing. They share it with other people, and then they follow up, and then they support those people, and those people kind of get free coaching, kind of, right? Whether it's from the person in between or whether it's from me, they're getting an exchange, and they're getting the opportunity to have their own business or invest in something they want to invest in that enables them to serve more people or help more people or pay more bills or have a better life or look after their grandma or send their kids to a better school and give them better nutrition. See, it's all about how many people can you help, and can you help more people than you were helping the day before? Nobody who's looking after a team of people can make money if they're not helping those people, either directly or indirectly. So in a multi-level marketing company, everybody is looking after somebody at some level to some degree. People are given an opportunity to run a business of their own, which they can do because they could do it by just having hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of customers, which is a little bit more like what affiliate sales is about. And then the company pays them a commission on all those customers. That's much more difficult to do. It gives you no leverage because as soon as you stop, everything falls apart. So if you decide to take 2 months off and travel around Europe, your business is going to dry up because there's nobody there running it for you. So you hire a VA, maybe, or you have a group of people who are helping you because you can't make money until they're making money, and they can't make money until you help them make money. You teach them what to do. You support them. You make sure they're okay. or you introduce them to somebody who's going to teach them what to do, but you still look after them and you still make sure they're okay. That's the only way it works. So nobody's exploiting anybody. Nobody's getting something for nothing. There is an exchange, and these things only work if the exchange is in. There are horror stories of people running off and abusing people and doing horrible things and terrible things and scams and all sorts of things. They never work long term, though. They don't. They can't. The universe couldn't possibly allow it. The laws of the universe, just like the law of gravity is a law, there are other universal laws. The law of reciprocity, which means that for something, there is always something else. If something goes in, something comes out, it's balanced. Something goes up, something else goes down, then that goes up and that goes down. Things are in reciprocity with each other. Or the law of abundance. There's plenty there for everybody. These are natural laws. Doesn't matter if you don't understand them. I don't understand them, but that doesn't change the fact that they exist, that that's the way the world works. So is it ethical? Only you can know that, because you have to know in your heart. And that's important. It's your heart that knows about your ethics, or your gut, if you want to call it that, not your head. It doesn't happen in your head. It happens in your heart. It's that gut feeling that you get that something's, oh, not sure, or, oh, yeah. And you can measure that, actually. There's a science called applied kinesiology, which is to do with testing muscle strength, which can tell you whether something's good for you or not. So a lot of health practitioners use it to, holistic health practitioners, to see if a certain supplement is needed and what dosage it would be. But you can measure it with yourself. You can do it right now. You can stand up and close your eyes and stand steady. And then you can think of something like your favorite food. So say you were going to stand in the room and say, okay, I love pizza. Is pizza good for me? You will then find whether your body leans forward or whether your body leans back, right? Now, if you're thinking of your amazingly wonderful gluten-free, cheese-free, meat-free, vegan pizza and you're on a vegan diet, you will probably find yourself leaning forward slightly, which means yes. Leaning forward, moving towards something, is a positive. If you're thinking of the pizza that you pick up at the supermarket for $3 or something and stick in the microwave, you will find yourself probably leaning backwards. Now, you can test this. You can test this with all sorts of things. I suggest you do a test with your phone and an apple. So take your phone away from yourself, put it close but not on your body, and close your eyes and stand there and measure where you are. And then pick up your phone and see what your body does. Put your phone down. Get your equilibrium again. Pick up an apple and see what your body does. And you'll learn how quickly, because sometimes it's a tiny, tiny, almost imperceptible movement. But you will eventually learn what's forward and what's backwards. And that's basically your body telling you whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So you can test that out when someone comes up with a business idea. Is it a good thing? Am I leaning in towards it? Or is it a bad thing? Am I leaning away from it? A relationship, a potential new boss, a film to watch, a book to read, a party to go to, whatever it is, you can test it that way. So, is it ethical? Only you know. Is it doing nothing? No. There's actually no such thing as doing nothing. You are rewarded to some degree for doing something. That thing might not seem like an effort. Therefore, it seems like an easy reward. Sometimes it is. But sometimes to get there where you can do that was a huge effort. So it's a smaller reward in compensation to the amount of effort. So when you're looking at something again, see how much effort is really involved before you judge whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Usually you end up judging it's a bad thing. So I'm suggesting that you might look at things in a different way. So the ethics you're feeling about doing nothing doesn't exist. And that's my sermon for today. And I hope that on some level, somewhere it found you, whether you found it on YouTube or whether you found it on Facebook, and whether you did it now or afterwards. We don't seem to have many comments, so I'm thinking that probably it didn't go out live on Facebook quite the way we wanted it to. But that's okay too, right? You know where to find me. My email address is andrea@myhomebiz.tips. And check out our website. Now that you know how to measure whether things are good or bad, have a look at some of the things that we're offering right now, because we are helping lots of people. People in this country, people in third world countries who haven't had an opportunity before to help themselves out of a hole or a difficult situation, poverty basically. So jump over to myhomebiz.tips, write to me at andrea@myhomebiz.tips. And if Facebook ever operates again, or if we ever manage to connect with Facebook again, join our group. It's facebook.com/groups, gain and retain clients. That's what we're doing. We're helping people gain and retain clients to build their businesses one way or another. Loads of brilliant tips. TIPS, by the way, stands for tools and ideas that produce success. Tools and ideas that produce success. I ran a competition a couple of weeks ago. The results of that competition will be on Facebook very soon. Thank you for joining me. Have a lovely week. See you again next week. Bye-bye.